Tebagwa, the CEO of and founder of Tanya Innovations Africa, and is going to be our moderator. In the same vein, we welcome Mr. John Britoil. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing the name well there. Britoil. Great. You are very welcome, sir. Again, we welcome Mr. Peter Okwi, the country director of Transcultural Psychosocial Organization, Uganda. This is our program, and I know the moderator will continue to take us through, this 2-hour session, and we are online as well. We welcome all those who are joining us on YouTube. So we are going to have the national anthem and also the East African anthem, and then we shall have an opening prayer. We shall have some welcome remarks by our dear Vice Chancellor of King Caesar University. And then from there we shall have a presentation by Mr. Evans Maganda, followed by the presentation by Mr. John Britoil, and another presentation by Mr. Peter Okwi. All these presentations are on the topic for this seminar, which is scaling university students' research projects into practical solutions in Uganda and indeed Africa as a whole. After the 3 presentations, we shall have a moment of question and answer session. So dear students, as the presentations are going on, please take note of your question, and when the moment comes, we shall have that time to really to attend to those questions. At the end, we shall have a group photo, which is going to be down below. As we always take it, the students, we know where we normally take our photos from. Because Mr. Maganda is going to be our moderator, just before the anthem, I would like to probably say a little bit what I have learned about him. And then he will tell us the other of his colleagues. He will have the honor to do that. So Mr. Maganda Evans Tebagwa before us, as I've said earlier, is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Tanya Innovations Africa, a company that mentors and connects African business entrepreneurs to the global investors and the global market space. That's not something small. It is really huge. And indeed, through this channel, he has built a network of global investors. He has built a network of global investors from the UAE, Finland, Europe, USA, and India that have specific preferences in Africa. Mr. Maganda is also a host for the monthly online global talk shows on Tanya Innovations Africa platform, but also which features on the American Business Talk Show. So this is locally known as the Black Business Network Expo, USA. So this is the gentleman, and I've not said it all. He may feel free to add something more about himself when the time comes. So ladies and gentlemen, can I ask us to stand, please? And then we shall have the national anthem and the East African anthem.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tuijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
God our Father, I want to thank you for this moment. We thank you for bringing us our dear guests who are going to speak to us about something very crucial, something which we need at this time as students and as a university, which is research. We thank you for the management of this university, from the Chancellor, His Highness, King Augustus Mlenga. We thank you for all other members of management, from the Vice Chancellor and all other support staff, and the dear students and all our stakeholders. Bless us during this moment, that whatever we're going to talk about may be in the interest of us as a university, because King Caesar University, we are an innovation-driven university. May this moment continue to inspire our dear students as they undertake their studies, most importantly, their research. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. I would like to take this singular honor and privilege to welcome our dear Vice Chancellor, Dr. Charity Mlenga, to address us.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to today's lecture series. I take this opportunity to welcome our guests. You are most welcome to King Caesar University. I also want to welcome you, our dear students and the staff, for making the time to come and listen and be a part of a very important seminar series. One of our values here at King Caesar University is progression. And progression says that we never stop learning. So every opportunity that we get to learn, we should always make the most of it. And so we want to thank Mr. Evans Maganda for having considered us as a university to host today's lecture series. Mr. Maganda, we're very grateful. Today we're going to look at something very important. As you're aware, you don't only come here at a university to learn, or we don't only teach, but one of our core mandates is research. It is research that impacts the communities and the society in which we live. And part of our mission here at King Caesar University is to go out into our communities and be a part of the social economic transformation of our communities. So how can you impact your community? This is one of the things that you are going to take from this lecture series. How to identify problems. If you identify a problem, what can you do about it? So that in the end, the research that you carry out is meaningful and will bring change wherever we go. So this lecture series is going to empower us to think beyond just the knowledge that we acquire, but also provide ways for us to go out and implement the knowledge. I hope that at the end of this series, even as you walk away from campus, you will start to identify these challenges and start to think and brainstorm among your peers and even with your lecturers. What can we do? How can we impact? How can we give back to the communities around us? So with those few words, I want to wish you all a very good afternoon. Please keep engaged, keep writing. I hope that we have all come with somewhere we can write and take notes so that when they call us to give our questions, we are all armed and ready. Let us be as engaging as possible. Thank you very much. Can I ask Mr. Maganda Evans to come and take over? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Madam VC, Dr. Charity, I first of all want to thank you for making sure that we feel home. You can thank her and clap for her because it's through her leadership that we are here. So thank you for making us come here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I've been introduced. My name is Maganda Evans Tabingwa, CEO Tanya Innovations Africa. Tanya Innovations Africa, ideally what we do is that we leverage technologies to help individuals and businesses reach their full potential. And we're a global networking company. This company started in 2021 during the COVID season. And the whole essence at that time was to ensure that we could get connected to the rest of the globe. And from that time, we have been evolving or coming up with a series of programs, transformative programs, that could cause change to businesses. But then we realized later that you can't do much without changing the individuals. And that's the reason, part of the reasons why we are in the universities. Now, in particular, we have we started what we call Practitioners Lecture Series. Why Practitioners Lecture Series? We say that while universities, secondary schools, primary schools are doing a very good job to give the skills in institutions, there is a gap of our graduates, possibly sometimes because they have not gotten time to get into the field, or possibly because they have not made enough research to be at par with what is happening around them. And simple case scenarios have been that the imaginations of graduates when they're in school, they want to finish and get a job, and their mind is running between, if they're in Kampala, it's running between Kampala and their villages. So somebody gets a job, his aspiration is I'm earning maybe 1 million, the next I want to build a house in the village, and it becomes a vicious cycle. But when we are talking about transformative Africa, when we are talking about changing and being of value to the globe, we must be able to pick ideas from different areas, to learn what those who have done well, be able to learn their practices and be able to put them into action. So we have started with the local ecosystem of Uganda, bearing in mind that we want students to appreciate the Ugandan economy and the African economy, to understand the visions, what the leaders are trying to do in the area you are studying. Because you are not going to necessarily create something new, but all the ideas that you are having, they must be aligned in what the government and other international bodies are doing to cause that change. But you will find students, for example, an IT student, he can do his Python very well, he can do his Java very well. But when you ask him how he can be able to put that into action in relation to the environment he's in, they are stuck. Okay? We have very many academic research in many other universities, and it's not just here, because I've not carried the research about you, but many other university students. What do they do with their research? They simply pick research projects from other places, copy and paste, they graduate, they leave. But we are talking about very serious issues of unemployment. We're talking about very serious issues of transformative education, which we need to first of all be aware that each of us has a role to do that. And one way we are doing that is to bring seasoned persons who can be able to complement what the lecturers are equally doing. Okay? So part of today's lecture, why you will be listening to Mr. Peter Okwi, who will be introduced later, is to, one, be able to give you his story, but also him having been an engineer, currently being a country director of an NGO. He has worked in several countries. He will be able to possibly connect a number of things of how he has been able to do what he has done and what he has learned of how you can actually improve what you're doing. At the end, as the VC has said, it is our hope that by the time you leave that door, you would at least learn one thing that you need to change. Now, we talk about social change. We talk about, I've forgotten the actual word that I wanted to use. But sometimes we say we want to talk about the mindset change. And sometimes we assume those who are not doing well are the ones supposed to change their mindset. But the rate at which the world is evolving, even us, or the management, or the leaders in this country, or the leaders in Africa, need to change their mindset. Because the speed at which the world is changing, if you cannot be able to add value onto yourself, tomorrow you will be obsolete. Okay? And the reason why research forms a very important component to make you start having conversation with yourself, whether what you're doing today can afford you to be a changed person tomorrow. Otherwise, if there's nothing you are adding, it means that you are going to be the same repetitive person tomorrow, and you ask yourself, what is not working well, okay? So I'm not the speaker for today, bearing that we started a little bit late. Those are just some few things that I wanted to bring on board. Maybe some I will add when Mr. Peter is coming to give his speech. You would allow me to introduce Mr. John Brittle. John Brittle is a colleague, that's number one. But number two, Side B Partners, a company which deals with venture capital, early startup support. I hope you know, I'm trying to emphasize because somewhere when we're talking about startups, very many students were not joining. I was making an assumption that they understood what we are talking about. Yeah? But we're talking about those incubated businesses, or whether when you have business ideas that you want proof in the field and then be able to get financial support. That's part of what they do. And the reason why we're working closely with him It's because we know that very many students are trying to come up with innovative projects, which they want to go into the field, prove, and possibly turn them into businesses. Okay? And it's not an easy journey, as you may be aware. In Uganda, currently, as we are speaking, we only have 39 startups at the Nakawa Incubation Center. But how many graduates are we churning out in terms of technology? So, if we have 39 only, it means those are the ones that are out to prove the idea. Question is, aren't we having some students who are doing technology? And we're having some students who have ideas. Where are those ideas dying? Possibly they're dying in classrooms, or you don't even know where to go. So that's part of where we're working with John. Number two, when we were selling this idea across, his company was part of the company that believed in what we were doing, and we partly work hand in hand and sponsor. They do part of the sponsorship of this program. Okay, so you want to give him a better clap. Okay, so John, besides that being the managing partner of Side B Partners, he's a board member of the American Chamber of Commerce. Okay, and possibly that is now how he joins with Peter, because Peter is in the NGO world. So when you're talking about American systems and stuff like that, he's the man to seek more knowledge from. That's all I can introduce John. The rest he can be able to introduce himself. He will give in some few remarks before I'll come back to call in our guest speaker tonight. Let's invite John to make some few remarks.
Thank you, Evans. Thank you, Charity. And how is everybody today? So I really love being in front of students and sharing my experience. So I encourage you guys to ask questions, come up and talk to us afterwards, and don't be shy, because it's really important from a learning perspective, as much as you're listening what's happening, when you ask questions, having the conversation, you're to actually obtain that knowledge. So like Evan said, I'm originally from California. I studied I grew up in Silicon Valley. Parents are technologists. I ended up studying economics and statistics for my bachelor's. I did a master's in finance, also international affairs. So after that, I'm spending 10 years in Washington, D.C. I've been here for 20 years. I've lived in Eastern Europe. I've lived in Southeast Asia, and now I'm living in East Africa. East Africa is home to me. I have been in this space of advisory and investment for the last 20 years on the continent, and I think if there's one thing that kind of stands out for us when it comes to our business, whether it's in investment or just operating a business here, is we need to find a better way to link and connect what's happening at the university level in terms of what you're learning and what you're taking in, what's really happening when you leave the university, because they're not the same thing. What you're learning here, a vast majority of you will not apply when you leave this university. So what skills then are you going to apply? What skills are you going to use? What are you going to do? Leave the university and start making this application outside of school. And so that's the foundation of why we're doing these conversations with Tanya Innovations and Evans, also inviting speakers like Peter here, but also collaborating with other universities, such as yours, Charity, here at King Caesar University. And the foundation of this is this idea that if you can bring in real-life practitioners who are doing real work in this economy, share that with the university, how do you build the curriculum to go ahead and allow you as students to take up that information, right? And so that's something that started in 1965. In the United States, we have an actual law passed. The law says certain universities are required to go out, learn from the private sector, international basis. So they put in a budget to send somebody like Charity out to another market to learn what's happening in a particular field. In this case, let's say it's healthcare and operating hospitals. How do you bring that knowledge back here and make that application in a real life setting, right? Or even how do you take her, send her over to the hospitals that are existing? How do you improve that relationship from maybe a case perspective here in the university for you to go ahead and learn from, so it's real time, as opposed to learning information that's 20, 30, 40 years old because it's in a textbook. Right, so that's the intent of what we're talking about here. We're hopeful that this program continues. We're going to be going to other universities and having these conversations and bring other speakers from the private sector and also from the industry. Go ahead and speak. So we're really grateful that everybody's here. I don't think there's anything else I want to share other than the fact that, should I go ahead and introduce? Would you like to do that? Okay. So thank you very much. We're really happy to be here, and I encourage you guys to keep your ears open and your minds open and ask as many questions as possible. Like Evan said, you can tell if we're on this side, on the employment side, and you're coming to us and you're bringing your paperwork and you show us something that you did, it's very easy to see whether or not that's your work, someone else's work. And the intent behind this conversation is to say, let's start thinking about doing your own work and what are the things that you could end up doing in terms of your research, right? Your work, right? Your ideas, your writing, not AI, not some AI generated content from Jenny AI or something, right? It's very easy for us to see as employers whether or not you use AI or whether or not coming from you. Because all I have to do is take away your phone and sit you down and say, write me what you just said. Really easy to do. So I encourage you guys to do that. So let me go ahead and pause there. I hope you guys are able to pick something from the conversation church today and how it applies to you. And we're really grateful and thankful to King Caesar for having us here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You can add him another round of applause. Just to be aware that we are live, part of what happens in this series is that we are live. We have a platform of Tanya Innovations Africa. Some of these lectures, we're also making them permanently available online, digital age. If you want to follow the first, second lecture series, still, if you go on that platform, you'll be able to find them. Our YouTube channel is Tanya Innovations Africa. So if you want to get and follow those previous, like the last lecture we were talking about startups ecosystem at Eastbart University. So if you're here, you're a technology student, you don't have to come to me. Just go there, you will follow all the conversations we had. We're talking about AIs, we're talking about all those different innovations. The first lecture series, we had a guest from United Arab Emirates, the former vice president of Dubai Chamber of Commerce. He was sharing how Dubai has managed to leapfrog, because at one point, Uganda was even better than Dubai. Or for some of you who might not have history better, Uganda was giving aid to Dubai, okay? But today, Dubai even has a museum of the future. So part of the conversation, we brought one of the guests to just be able to share with us. So when you go on Tanya Innovations, you'll be able to find it, okay? So make sure that you subscribe there to follow the conversation. And if you have a friend who is here and she is not able to follow, we should not be limited by the walls. Just get there and share the link, okay? Now, to the purpose of this event tonight, allow me introduce Mr. Peter Okwi. Who is Peter Okwi? Peter Okwi is the country director of Transcultural psychosocial organization, in brief, TPO Uganda. And Okwi is the team leader who has had an industrious career with national and international humanitarian and development NGOs. This has spanned over 2 decades of leadership in the public health, international development, the finance sector. Mr. Okwi, prior to his appointment, he served as the Chief Operating Officer at Strong Minds. He also served as the Country Director, Strong Minds Uganda, Acting Director for SADC Malaria Elimination Aid Secretariat based in Windhoek, Namibia. He was also the Country Director of the Clinton Health Access Initiative called the CHAI Team in Rwanda. Mr. Okwi was the head of Information Services Department of the Infectious Diseases Institute in Uganda. Academically, Mr. Okwi holds a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Warwick Business School. He also has a master's degree in information security from the University of London. And finally, Mr. Okwi went to one of our universities locally here in Makerere University, where he acquired a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. The man going to speak to you, if it was in the names of Jesus, they would say that I cannot even untie his shoe, but this is the man who is going to speak to us. Please give him a round of applause. Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Maganda Evans, and good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. That's more energy. That's more energy. As Mr. Maganda was speaking, I was asking myself, who is that person? I don't believe what he has been reading, and believe me, don't believe what you read on the internet or what people like Mr. Maganda tell you. Listen to me. I will tell you the truth. The whole truth starts almost 20 years ago. I have some slides which are up there, but before I start, I would like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Maganda and Evans. Thank you for having me here today. In a bit, I'll tell you why I enjoy this kind of conversation. But thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We met through a friend, colleague, and turns out we have a lot in common. For example, liking fish. That's Mr. John Britell. And I was telling him, you need to use your real picture. Have you seen the advertise for this thing? Have you seen the flyer? This is not the same guy on that flyer. He needs to put his hair out. We can actually get to understand. So thank you both that I'm here. Most of all, I'd like to thank our dear Vice Chancellor, Dr. Charity. Just before I came in here, I was in Dr. Charity's office. I'll keep saying Dr. Charity because Charity and I go way, way, way back. More than 20 years, we were like you. Exactly like you. And why do I say that? Charity and I are classmates. Charity was one of the good students, the ones that did all the homework, did all the projects. That's why she has the PhD, and she's your Vice Chancellor. The rest of us, we got by, and you'll hear a little bit about me. So what they don't tell you in the write-up, and I'll tell you a bit about what I do. So right now, I have the privilege to lead a team of 300 motivated individuals, motivated Ugandans. And together, we work in more than 43 districts of this country. We are supported by a team of an army of volunteers who number anywhere between 100 or more that we hire from the areas that we work. last 3-4 months, I've had the pleasure of traversing the country. I don't know how many have been to West Nile? I want this to be a conversation. So as I speak, I would like to ask something, and then who has been to West Nile? Just a quick show of hands. Who knows where West Nile is? Okay, who knows the national anthem of Uganda? I saw, so don't tell lies. I saw those who are singing. All right, so we work in West Nile. We work with refugees. I have a team right now in Ramwanja. That's in the western part of this country. We work with UNHCR, work in 11 out of 14 refugee settlements. I was in Mbara last week, and next week I'll actually be doing something like this, as Mr. Evans was speaking, and John. Learning by doing, learning by being where the action is an important part of learning. Organizations, you might see me as the country director and say, oh, that is the big boss. Oh, the boss has a boss as well. And in many organizations, boss is your board. I'm sure Dr. Charity has a board as well. Now, your board is the top policy-making organ. They decide everything. Charity presents to the board, I present to my board. So it's one thing for them to make policies and guide us. It's another thing for them to understand what it means to work in Angala or Masaka, deep down there, provide HIV medication to a child that can't get that medication. That's one of the things. So I'm taking them next week to Masaka and Kalangala. So as Evans was telling me, come and speak to the students, I said, really, this week, can I manage? I am trying to organize a board meeting, but I love this. This is really important, and so I'm here. I have a personal connection with academia. Over the weekend, we celebrated Dad's 80th birthday, incidentally. And of those 80 years, he lectured for 35 of them at Makerere University. Very interesting story. He's a town planner, urban planner, worked in geography department for the longest time, but then he switched completely and moved to the Faculty of Technology, started a master's program, and has now graduated more than 25 or 30 students. By the time he retired, that was in 2007. That's when he retired at University. So I grew up watching my dad go to work, holding chalk. These days, you guys are lucky. Dr. Charity has given you these fancy things which you can use to study. Nowadays, it was chalk. So I woke up with seeing my dad go and teach. The one thing that he told me was, Peter, in every part of this country that I go to, somebody will come up to me and say, teacher taught me. And that has happened. I've seen it happen. So I grew up saying, I want to be like Daddy. I want to do what Daddy did. Now, I took a very different path, which very quickly we will understand. But I'm telling you that to show you that you can do it. You should not be constrained by what you studied, where you studied, how you studied, or with who you studied. Although it's good to study with people who become vice chancellors, isn't it? And PhDs. And that can be you in the next 20, maybe 15 years going forward. So the next 30 minutes or maybe 20 minutes is supposed to be a conversation. When Evans told me to come and speak about research, and then he said, oh, please send me your references and your data. I said, no. I don't have data, I don't have references. Because you guys know how to reference better than I can tell you. What I have are stories of failure. What I have are stories from the field. What I have are stories of what does it take to deliver HIV care in a place like Ndaiga. Who knows where Ndaiga is in this country? Anyone? Ndaiga. Where is Ndaiga, sir? Where? Maybe another one. Any other Ndaiga? Who knows Ndaiga, a place in this country, Uganda? Beautiful country of ours. Nobody? Okay, who knows where Paradigm is? Paradigm. Aha. You guys know Paradigm down the road here, but you don't know where Ndaiga is. Yeah? It is near here. This is where we go after lectures. Aha. Now, Ndaiga is a place on the shores of Lake Albert. You can't get to it with a vehicle. You get to a point, you park, and then you walk down 30 minutes or so. It's a fishing village on the lake shores of Lake Albert. It has one of the highest incidences of HIV in this country. The fishermen out there live day to day. They go to fish, they get the fish, they sell it. They don't care about protection. They live day to day. And I have stories of what it takes to provide HIV care out there in the front line. All right, enough stories. Let's start the conversation. So today, by the time you walk out of this room, I hope you have some idea about how to scale such projects into practical business solutions in Uganda or Africa. My name's Peter Okwi. If you want to reach out to me, please feel free. That's my email address, perok3@gmail.com. Next slide, please. So, like I told you, I am not an academic. However, there are a couple of things that I do with academia. How many of you know about MIT, Massachusetts University in the US? Okay. So I am on a judging panel with MIT University, and really we answer questions like how do communities prepare for, detect, and respond to pandemics and health security threats? So basically what this is in English is we ask innovators, startups, students to tell us, to come up with ideas which can respond to that challenge. So it's a competition. And we have a judge, I'm part of a judging panel that includes a wide range of people, Africa, Europe, Asia. Emory University is a university in Atlanta, Georgia. It's right next to CDC, American Centers for Disease Control. I give such talks to the Foundations of Global Health class. And really what that is again, what does it take to implement public health in a resource-limited setting? In English, what that means is how do you improve somebody's health? Not as an individual, but a large group of people in a place where you have limited resources, whether it's in Daiga, or it is Amudat in Karamoja, or even Kampala. Kampala is a resource-limited setting, so to speak. So I give such talks as well to the students, master's and the bachelor's program. Then, together with the long-haired man, John, we serve on the faculty advisory panel of Cavendish University, who I believe we collaborate. So I will not say your competitor, but I will say your collaborator, Cavendish University. So we speak with the faculty. I work with the team from the health sciences faculty. And again, it's really how do you develop your programs? How do you foster connections with industry, alumni? Basically, how do we get you guys ready for us guys out there? Like John was saying, it's easy for us to tell whether you have used ChatGPT, AI, or whatever, Facebook, Meta, or whether you've done the work yourself. So what can we do to help you be ready? What's out there? And then lastly, and I think that's maybe the most important, I've been a student like you. If you me, for those who are in the same, who check the same box as me, they will tell you, you might add the decades, but thinking-wise, I am still that Mackay University student in Livingstone Hall, looking for Rolex, looking for Mama Brown's food, figuring out what to do on Friday, who was the complimentaries, who is going to where. You guys are lucky. Those days we had to pay to go to Silk and whatever. These days you just walk to Paradigm. Somebody told me they know Paradigm. So those are very real problems, those are real challenges. Believe me, whatever you do, you still have that. I still think like that up to now. But what's different? So being a student 3 times means I've done 3 research projects. I'll tell you a bit about that. One when I was in engineering, one in IT security when I was at the University of London. Lastly, one for my MBA, which is cool. Next slide, please. What is in a name? I told you that I am engineer, or rather studied engineering, but what do you think is in common with these things on this board? Anything? Random answer from anyone. Anything common between these things? Dr. Charity, do they have lunch by any chance? Or we starved them and brought them, if you don't come and listen to Peter, you're going to be, I don't know what the punishment will be. Anything in common that you see on this list? Nothing? Yes? Yes, please. They're branded. Excellent. We can see some brands. Anything else? Don't be scared of the Vice Chancellor. Actually, when you speak, then she'll say, that one is very sharp. Scholarship coming up. But she doesn't know who is. No, you guys. Yeah? Anything. Tell me anything about that screen. Yes, sir. See some leadership in there. Okay. Leadership, brands. One more, and then we'll move on. Yes, sir. Excellent. He sees economy. Yes, sir. Connections. Connections. We move on. Anyone burning with something? Charity, you have to see me today say something. This is your chance. Okay, I'll tell you. The one thing common is that one person has had all those job titles. That's me. Went to school to do engineering. I became a systems integrator, Bank of Uganda. That was my first job. And I'll tell you how that happened. Interestingly, I'll give you the cheat code. It happened because of my final year project at university. That's how I ended up with bank. I've been a head of information services department. I've been operations manager. That's how I discovered Ndaiga on the shores of Lake Albert, because we were delivering HIV services out there. Interestingly, I've also been a head of finance and grants, and not just for one country, but for 8 countries based out of Namibia. So that includes South Africa, Botswana, Angola, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini. I've also been privileged to lead across 8 countries, about 600 people or so, different currencies, different languages, all that. And we were trying to solve the problem of malaria. Malaria is very different from engineering, so is HIV. And I also happen to be the chief operating officer, which is basically like the deputy CEO. I had people in the US, people in Zambia, people in Uganda, new programs in South Africa, Kenya. I've also served on the board. I'm actually a board secretary as we speak right now. And I'm back to being a country director. That just tells you a little bit about non-academic story. What this doesn't tell you is just how many mistakes I've made, how many times I have failed, which are so many times, and I'll tell you some of them next couple of minutes. But it did not stop me from trying. I kept trying. Just because I did something, I never felt that, oh, yes, you're now a country director, you've arrived. No, I haven't arrived. I still have to keep on. And that's what I challenge you. So this is what Evans gave me. This is not my stuff. Evans makes sure that this is what we want to do. And whenever you present, I realize that you can read faster than I can read to you. So I will not read what's on that slide, but basically want to try and understand the gaps in our economy, for research. How do we do research that works? How do you fine-tune these ideas? How do you turn them into ideas? Now, I'll challenge you, and I'll tell you up front that I am not, like I said, an academic. I am not a lecturer. I can share stories. So the challenge is for you to frame your learning within these objectives, or whichever, if only one applies to you, when one speaks to you, pick that one thing. But just like Evans mentioned, what is it that is going to change when you leave the room today? It shouldn't just be, oh, that guy came and spoke and told us about paradigm, and that was it. No students. No one? Final year students, there are 2 of you. What's the other year? Penultimate or sophomore, second year students? First year students? Students of any kind? Okay, that's okay, it doesn't matter. But the 2 of them will tell us that in your final year, you'll have to do a project or a dissertation. Because Dr. Charity will not sign your certificate of graduation unless you submit your project. But the truth is, you're juggling a lot of things. And you're attending lectures, you have to fund your studies. Some of you are working, some of you are sponsored, some of you have to negotiate for this money. And then there's life in university. They used to tell us, we were talking about our former lecturer who used to tell us at university that when you go to university, you have 2 degrees. There is the degree where Dr. Charity will give you the certificate, and there is the other degree. What's the other degree? Very important degree. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. The degree of the University of Life. Absolutely. So, totally understand. You can't say that you're only coming to do academics. There is lots of other things that you have to learn at universities. Believe me, many of the friends that will stay with you up to this time, where I am, where Charity and I are people that you met at university, right here in this room. So it's important. Sometimes the casualty, the one that suffers, is your project, because let's just copy and paste. Let's just go. I know Cavendish may not have Turnitin. If they do, they don't have enough licenses. Let's go to Stellenbosch University or Busitema. Pick up a dissertation and bring it, copy and paste. How many of us are lecturers, staff, right now? This university. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, many. I'm sure you have experienced this in one way or another. You've read a dissertation and you're thinking, something about this dissertation. It's unoriginal, like just something else. It's not aligned to the market. And then you're simply checking the box. I graduated, yes, and that is it. But is that what we want to continue? Do you want to do something about it? I'd like to think that we can do something about it. And what John and Evans are doing are trying to change the story, change the narrative. Just because it has been like that doesn't mean it has to continue to be like that. So here is an idea I'll suggest to you, and just place in your mind. Let's go to the next slide. So the idea is it even possible? How can students be mentored in ecosystems to generate ideas? Come up with an idea that grows into a business or a solution to a problem. Vice Chancellor was talking about problems, solutions to problems. So how can we help you come up with those ideas, refine them, perhaps match you with someone who has walked that journey, who has failed many times like myself, and tell you, oh, this one you may not want to do, but ultimately help you take that to the next level. Is there a way to motivate projects for students as a requirement for graduation? And this is something that we are all discussing and thinking about and brainstorming. Is there a way to say, if your startup project, if your project becomes a startup, you get extra credit towards graduation? Or, we are yet to figure that out, and we're happy to hear from you. Then lastly, it will give you a chance to test and prove ideas to help solve the issue of employment and real-world experience. Let me tell you a quick story before I continue. So you know that I was studying engineering, and engineers don't wear suits, which is why I'm sweating right now, because this is very, it's very different from most engineers. So when I was in engineering school and we had to do a final year project dissertation, many of us chose different projects. One time you should ask your Vice Chancellor what her project was. Believe me, she won't be upset. She will think you're very clever. Ask her what it was, and then, it's showing interest. So I decided to do something that was solving a problem. And at the time, the challenge was many computer networks were being connected to the internet, and there was no way to make sure that they were safe. People feared the internet and said, oh, internet hackers are going to steal your money, they are going to hack your email, they are going to expose you. And so my project was around local area network security. And basically, the question I was trying to answer, how do you connect a corporate network onto the internet safely? Now, it's almost like I was crazy, because no one did projects like that. And of course, remember, there was the University of Life, like you said. There were many things that we had to do. So why did I take that decision? I think at the time, to be honest, I was just listening to my dad. He said, do something that makes sense. I can't say that I had this brilliant idea. But in the course of doing that project, at the time that I did the project, I was an intern at Bank of Uganda, the IT department. And so I pitched this to my supervisor and said, hey, Bank of Uganda wants to connect to the internet. why don't I figure out a way for you to do this in a secure fashion? Many, many months of slogging and complications, and many times I asked myself, why did I even pick this project? It was tough, it was difficult, it was stressful. At some point, I did not know what to do, but somehow persisted until this one. I will say, without fear or favor, the project was the best in our class. Charity, I'm sure you agree. She can confirm. It came top, and Bank of Uganda hired me straight up, and they said, oh, even your university thinks this is good. Come and implement it for us. That's how I started working for Bank of Uganda. And when I worked for Bank of Uganda, I was hired even before I had graduated because of the work that I had put in to do a project that solved a real problem. Fast forward many more years after that, I started running information security for Bank of Uganda. You've heard of these things of RTGS and SWIFT. I ended up taking over responsibility for those. And it ignited a passion because, as you remember, the first master's I did was actually information security because it was an exciting thing for me. I have known that unless I did the hard work or tried something that hadn't been done, maybe not. So the encouragement to you here is that think of a problem. And the trade-off is, because listen, in fourth year, I had to sacrifice some of the paradigm nights of that time. But what better sacrifice if I sacrifice some of those nights for a guaranteed opportunity to solve a problem? That is my sacrifice. So I know you have to make trade-offs daily. You're prioritizing multitude of things. But the thing to ask yourself is, what choices can you make now that you will appreciate in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Think about it every day. What choices can you make for your project? And I'm glad that there are many first years. This is when you start thinking about your projects. What problem is out there? And there are many problems, many. The other day I was coming, those of us who come to work by private means, been to Entebbe or many parts of this country, you will find many vehicles, and I've been a victim, with one person in that car. And there's many people waiting for transport, looking for transport, sometimes willing to pay for that transport, but they can't get it. We had to wait for Uber to come. Was it from Silicon Valley? Somewhere? And tell us that, oh, you can use a ride-hailing application. When I did my master's in the UK, I had to move from, I was staying in Croydon, it's a town in the UK, and then I had to go to Surrey, a place in Egham. Egham is in Surrey. Now, as the crow flies, distance-wise, it is very close. But there's no connection. So basically, it's like saying, I want to go to Speak Resort Munyonyo, but there is no direct line. So you have to first go to Kawalaga, then connect from Kawalaga to Speak Resort. Some smart person came up with an app. It was a website at the time. Ride share. So you basically say where you are and where you're going, you register. When you reach, you find someone who is going the same direction, you register, you reach 3, he will stop and pick you and take you. So you save time, you save money. Imagine if somebody came up with something like this and it worked. And you charged people 500 shillings on mobile money. Download that app. Just imagine. All you need is maybe 1,000 people. And you've made something. So the ideas are all around you. There are so many ideas out there. All you have to do is to put yourself in a mind where you're looking for them. Because when you look for them, you'll see them. So I challenge you, look for problems. Look for problems and find a way to solve them. And that will be the beginning of making your ideas, your research make sense. Because you're not doing research to check a box. You're doing research to solve a problem. Next slide. So what is research? This big thing we're talking about, research, what does it mean? Merriam-Webster is one of those known dictionaries. I'll not read that to you, but there are a couple of words out there. Inquiry, examination, discovery, interpretation of facts, collecting of information, careful or diligent search. So those are all components of research. Go to the next slide. Next slide, please. So I simply picked this because I have some connection to them. So what does MIT think about research? I won't read it to you, but then as you can see, pushing the boundaries of knowledge and possibility is our joyful obsession. Should be fun. Fundamental discoveries, practical applications. What about Emory? What matters to us is the number of lives saved, partnerships forged, discoveries driven. Have discovery again. What about Cavendish? I told you I'm an advisor with them. What does their School of Postgraduate say? Courage to delve deep into areas or zones previously little trodden to discover new knowledge. Before we move to the next slide, who knows what King Caesar research is about? Anyone? I think I am allowed to pick on the lecturers, right? Yes? Yes? They always ask you. Today I should ask them. Can anyone tell me what is research at King Caesar? It's on your website, by the way. There's a hand? There's a hand? Yes, sir. Tell me. What's the ethos? What's the impact? Innovation-driven research. Anything else? Did you have your hand up, sir? Okay. Anyone else? Don't worry, you're not going to be marked wrong. This doesn't count towards any grades. Let's see what it says. Let's go to the next slide. Has anyone read this before? It's another university, maybe. This is research at your university. Has anyone seen this before? Measure our research impact, not only by academic contribution, but also by the tangible benefits it brings to society, the economy, and policymaking in Uganda and beyond. Our research initiatives are strategically, very nice words there, designed to address pressing societal challenges and create practical, transformative solutions across multiple sectors, including health, business, law, petroleum, and agriculture. Guided by our comprehensive research agenda, we maintain partnerships with Johns Hopkins, Uganda Cancer. Collaboration with industries and government bodies continues to position our research at the heart of national development. Can you believe you're part of something this great? This is you. I think you should clap for yourselves. But did you actually understand what this means? I ask the lecturers. Yes? Can somebody tell me what this means in English? Yes? Anyone? There is no wrong answer here. We are brainstorming. Questions are getting harder and harder. But that's good also, because now you have a point of conversation to start with your lecturers. Especially you, final year, start by asking them, is what I'm doing? Yes, sir. Transformation. Transformation. Not just of work that you're doing, multiple sectors including health, business, law, petroleum, agriculture. Transformation of societies, of people, of lives, absolutely. But I think this is a good place to start a conversation with your lecturers. In class, when you leave this room, the next class you go to, ask your lecturer, how is what I'm studying contributing towards research impact at King Caesar? If they don't have an answer for you, believe me, if you have to use me, I'll get an appointment for you. She's my OG. I know she's your VC, but This is when they say, Gambanogu. I will tell her to listen to you. Because research is the core of what you do. And you heard all the speakers say that. But the first thing is you need to understand the context in which you are. And that is a very good framework for you. So challenge your lecturers, and the lecturers, you're going to be challenged. So be ready to be challenged, because the students are coming to ask. And then as you begin to think of problems to solve, fit them within that. We're running out of time. So let me go to the next slide. I put this slide here just to, again, have a bit of a conversation. And I want you to help me. When you look at this slide, what story does it tell you? Give me like a 1-minute interpretation of that slide.
Anyway, as we go modern, making the life of people.
Excellent. Very good answer. Anyone else? Slide? Yes, sir. Transformation from one wheel until you get to 4 wheels. Okay? Anything else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, then madam.
And to me, I see that there are many ways of transformation.
It can also mean, ever mean,
Excellent. You see? That's why learning is important. You get to hear different perspectives.
From the picture that we are seeing here, back in the days started with, like he said, 1 wheel, which is that. From there we went to using camels. From there, with the discovery, people discovered that we can still use that of 3 wheels. From there, transport has been made so easy to that extent of using a 4 wheel.
Excellent evolution of wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you. To me, I'm seeing research. When one man saw that they were using camels for transport, he tried to develop some means how people can travel using other materials, get vehicles, that's not animals, but up to when we have the 4-wheel drive car.
Excellent. Thank you. Please clap for yourselves. Those are all really, really important answers. And I apologize on behalf of the one who drew this. This is actually a horse. It's not supposed to be a camel, it's a horse, but point taken. So the idea is, before the invention of the wheel, to go from point A to B, just like my sister said, you needed to ride a horse. Well, you had to walk or you rode a horse. So if you wanted to go faster, and the only option was to ride a horse, what would you do? Yes? If the only option you have is to use a horse, but you want to go faster, what can you do? If you want to get to where you're going faster, motivated to move fast, beat the horse. Exactly. So the technology, the research at the time, the innovation was, how do you get the horse to go faster? So you beat it, you feed it, you give it steroids, you train it. Then somebody invented a wheel and said, well, what about if we tie a wheel to the horse? Then we can carry 2 or 3 people and maybe some things. And then you can even go faster. And then somebody said, no, let's invent the engine and put an engine on the wheel. But can you imagine what it would have felt like before the invention of the car? Have you heard of somebody called Ford? What did he do? Invented the vehicle. Can you imagine the conversation Ford had at the time when he was telling people, you know what, I want to invent a car? And everyone knew that, no, but cars, that's rubbish. We know horses. And at the time, horses wore shoes. Shoes were made of, who knows what they were made of? Horseshoes. Iron. So the people that controlled iron were the people in charge, basically were the richest people. So when Ford said, I want to invent the car, they said, no, that is. So you will get resistance, change. It will be hard. But did Ford give up? No, that's why we are where we are right now. And what is the next big thing? You've heard of the Concorde. Concorde burst what they call the sonic barrier. Fastest plane in the world, Concorde. Now, the Concorde was decommissioned as we speak, but the next big thing now is probably how do you travel from A to B out of our atmosphere? And that will revolutionize transportation as we speak. So again, you can see how extending knowledge, coming up with new things, research is impactful, research extends knowledge, research adds value. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. So at the end of today, if you only remember one of these things, then I did not sweat here for nothing, and there was some value in coming here. And that any of those things, research is important. It's an important scaling area. And understanding the relevance of human capital, and then how do we bridge that gap between the market and you guys coming out of university. Next slide, please. So what is it about? What does research skilling mean? It basically, remember, discovery was repeated over and over and over. New things. And I challenge you to think about that camel or that horse and the wheel and the car. New things. It can also be extending stirrups. Stirrups are those things on the feet that tickle the horse and give it pain and make it go faster. Or you completely do fresh thinking, come up with a car. That's all part of learning how to do research. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is you should be able to add value to what you're doing. You're not doing research for the sake of research. There is a value add to your research. Next slide, please. Human capital. The most exciting places to be are where learning happens. And you have that privilege. For the next 3 or 4 years, you have learners, you have teachers. But the teachers are also learners. And the learners can also be teachers. And you've demonstrated it right now. You've just been teaching us things. For example, different ways of interpreting that photograph about the horse and the wheel. The future of innovation is in universities. And just before we came here, we were talking with Dr. Charity. This country has, who can guess how many universities are in this country? Just guess. Yes, sir. 64. It's a guess. Anyone? 69. Okay. There are 76 universities and other tertiary institutions in this country. That is 76 sites where you have learners and teachers. That is 76 sites where new ideas can come out, transformative ideas can come out, and you're one of them. Through what Evans is doing, imagine if we could create a network across those universities and we could share ideas, expand this learning to all the 76 or the 64. Just imagine what would be generated from that level of engagement and connection. Our country depends upon it, on you. Next slide, please. Many of us, and I speak for those right there on this side, we feel that there's a huge gap, well, maybe not so huge, between how you come out of these walls and what we need to do in the field. I'll give you an example. The bulk of the work that my team does is mental health. We work in mental health, we work in HIV, we do child protection, gender-based violence, and several other things. One time, a student came, I think he was in KIU, came to our offices about 7 years ago and asked for an internship. Said, no, we don't have intern. Very busy, we are working, we are delivering. He persisted. He left his papers and came back to check over and over. Please do not leave this place saying, Peter told us to go and stalk employers. No, don't stalk employers. But he persisted. So we said, let's give him a chance. So we gave this gentleman a chance. Then we told him, we are going to send you to Yumbe. Knows where Yumbe is? Where is Yumbe, sir? Excellent. How many hours to get to Yumbe? Paula. 12 hours. How many of you in this room, if I gave you an internship and said I'm going to deploy you 12 hours away, how many would go? Honestly, tell me, because I may actually give you the internship. This is when being a country director is good, because I can actually do what I'm saying. Yes, you would go. Okay. 3 out of 4, 5, 6, let's say 10 out of what? 200, 150 in this room. This gentleman, incidentally, is from the far, far southwest of this country. He had probably never even gone beyond Jinja or Kampala. We told him, you're going to Yumbe, 3 months internship, unpaid. You say you want to learn? Come and learn. We threw him in a refugee settlement with Sudanese refugees. Right now, as we speak, he's the regional coordinator in charge of all our work in West Nile. In where it was. So, we will talk a bit about what we can do in the next couple of minutes. But the question is, are you ready for prime time? You say you want jobs. You say you want to be employed. But if we tell you to come and start working now, how many of you are going to say, no, Peter, I want to dress like you? Do I get to dress like you every day? If not, I'm not coming. Are you going to pay me 1 million? How can I survive with only 500,000? No, it's impossible. Don't you know I went to university? We'll come back to that. Next slide. Facts can be profitable. We talk about innovation. We talk about new knowledge. Has the taste of Pepsi Cola changed all the time you have drunk Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Yes? Significantly? No? Since invention, same formula. And they're making billions and billions from that one fact. Just connecting hydrocarbons. And that is making them a lot of money. So don't be afraid to try and fail. I have failed so many times. We will have a Q&A, and if you want to know, I'll tell you some of them. Lost money, delayed projects, so many times. But that's how you learn. That's how you see. I was a head of finance. I was head of operations, country director. I did not get scared. I tried it, made mistakes, but kept on. And I challenge you and encourage you to do the same. Next slide, please. We're almost done, actually. So where do we go from here? You've listened to me, you've answered my questions, but what can you do? And this is a conversation I had with Evans before I came. For all of you, the students in here, I hope you look at research differently. I hope you see it as a solution as opposed to checking a box. Let me get done and finish this whole thing. Gather knowledge, learn. And there are many ways to do that. Talk to people like some of us. One of the things I love is somebody coming to my office and saying, oh, Peter, I just want to talk to you for 15 minutes. I am a student. I have some questions for you. Believe me, that's an important use of my time. Won't happen every day, of course. And I may tell you, maybe come back in about a week, but it will happen. So use the people that you think are out there. And you all have people whom you admire, people who are doing what you think you will be doing. Go to them. Many of you, or we ask people these questions. If you were given, who is the richest man in the world right now? Who knows? Who? Yes? Exactly, Elon Musk, because he was very clever. Quoted Trump. Now he's the richest man. Imagine I gave you like stock value and things. Imagine I gave you 60 seconds with Elon Musk. Let's say he comes down to Dr. Charity's office and Evans tells him, Elon, we are going to speak to students upstairs. It takes you 60 seconds. And I'll say, okay, yes, sir, you're going to work with Elon Musk. You have 60 seconds. What would you tell him? There is no wrong answer. There is no right answer. But tell me, I want to hear from you.
How did you do it?
How did you do it? What you call it here? Upon the bani so matajo. How did you live? Don't forget you have 60 seconds. How did you get to that level? Maybe you can help me with some of those behind. Yes.
I would ask what inspired you.
Are you happy?
An interesting one here. Are you happy? Are you happy? Any others? A couple more, then we'll close.
About myself and say, I'm hardworking, I would like to work with you. I would just impress him by saying, I'm hardworking, I would like to work with him.
He introduce himself and say he's hardworking, he likes to work with him.
How did you start?
How did you start? How do you start again? How do you recover from failure? Okay, yes, sir. And by the way, don't be surprised if he sees this. Evans is putting it online. So don't be surprised. This is your chance. Yeah, there's one here. Okay, just shout it out. How can I be better than you? Excellent. How can I be better than you? Extending that knowledge. That's what I want you to be thinking. It's very interesting that none of you has said, Elon, I have an idea. I've been thinking about commercializing this product. What do you think? I've been working on this project. Can you help me test it out? This is the richest man. He can cough and give you, okay, stop disturbing me. There is $500,000. Just go. All the answers you gave are valid answers. They are important answers. Today's topic is about research and extending. And the key thing there is knowledge. Consult people. Read widely and wildly. Widely and wildly. I know you already read because of university, but read even more. You will never go wrong from reading. Because guess what? It will cost you, I know it's a lot of money, it will cost you $50,000 to buy a book. But imagine trying to go and meet with Barack Obama. How much will it cost you? But you can buy his book for $50,000 and get those insights. We'll come back to what the universities can do. What else can you do? Attend seminars. You're here. This is an important step. The fact that you're here, you have similar questions. You have similar concerns. You have seen who has asked what question. Maybe that will be the start of a collaboration. Maybe the one that asked, how can you start again, will match with the one that says, are you happy? And the one that says, I am hardworking. And maybe together, you may form something going forward. Engage with groups like Tanya. Evans has an amazing body of knowledge and work. Engage with them. Skill up. Basic skills. Who knows what a balance sheet is?
A balance sheet has about two main columns. Column for credit, column for.
This man deserves a clap. Dr. Charity, you're seeing. You're seeing. How many of you have more than 1,000 shillings? How many have more than 1,000 shillings? No one has more than 1,000 shillings. The point I'm trying to make is that there are basic skills that all of you need to know. Don't say that I don't do business, I don't need to understand a balance sheet. You need to know what a credit is and what a debit is. You need to know how money comes in and how money goes out. Whatever, even if you're doing law, even if you're doing the history of mosquitoes, you need to understand finance. You need basic skills in finance. You need to know how to write. You need to know how to present. You need to know basic business skills, customer service, technology. These skills cut across all faculties, courses, projects. So that's what you can do. Look at it like I'm giving you the marking scheme, because many times I sit on the other side and I have to make decisions about who do we hire. I have 300 people right now whose contracts I've signed. One project alone that we manage is about 30 million US dollars over 7 years, covering 28 districts and 2 cities. Every day I'm thinking about who can help us achieve more, who can build our team more, who can take us forward. And it's amazing how many people come out of university and don't understand basic writing. Basic writing. You'd be surprised how many letters we get with emoji. Yes, emoji. You know what emoji is? We all WhatsApp. I also WhatsApp. I love emojis, by the way. Love emojis. But I don't love them in your application letter on my desk. Even if you're the most brilliant Elon Musk and you can't write, then I don't know how brilliant you are. Basic finance skills, basic customer service. Please, sorry, thank you. They don't teach you this in school, but you need them out there. Doing the hard work, digging in and saying, I am not going to leave until this is done. Those are all important skills that you need to do. And you can start building them up, because guess what? They are all free. If you go to the internet and search free courses in writing, in presentation, in finance, you'll get them. They are there. And then do the work. Do the work. Knock on doors, seek out internships. Do what your VC has told you. Look for problems. And you just need to open your eyes and you'll see them. Many problems. I am sure if you thought hard enough, if I locked you in this room for 2 hours, you'll come up with an idea and a problem you can solve for this university. I'm extremely confident about that. Just you guys in this room. It's possible. I have one word for Dr. Charity and the universities as well. What can we do going forward? Again, a new perspective towards research, partnerships, and that was key about King Caesar. You're with Uganda Cancer Institute, you're with Johns Hopkins. There are many more you can partner with. Share knowledge, invite people, others. There are many like me, many who have failed, many who have succeeded. Let them talk to you. Stock those reading materials. It's a good investment. Online, print, use them. You guys have a library, right? You do? Print and online? Both. How many of you use the library? And I mean even lecturers. How many use? Okay, let's start again. Who knows where the library is? We know where it is. How many use it? So the next speaker that comes here, I wish 99% of you can raise your hands. You had something to say? Yes.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed. You guys, I just chased most of them from the library right now. Don't you know where you are?
They might be seeing it as a place to study, not to consult the material in there. But anyway, the point is, use what you have around you. This is my last slide. I've told you to knock on doors. I would encourage you, the faculty, and your Vice Chancellor as well, knock on our doors. Believe me, we have a lot of problems that need solving, a lot of them. And I tell my senior management team, it's one thing for you to be able to do well. It is even more important for you to be able to help someone become as better, as good, if not as better than, if not as good as you, better than you. Because ultimately, getting the work done is one thing. Getting another person to do what you're doing even better, that's the magic that you need. And then lastly, leverage technology. We don't know what the future holds, but we can invent the future. I'm going to end with a final question. Who can tell me how to invent the future? Answer is in the question.
How you can, how to start starting differ then you act.
Excellent. The best way to do it is to just do it. It's another way of saying the best way to invent the future is create it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Look forward to your questions.
You can clap better. Yeah, I think you have gotten some insights from Peter. He has given you elaborative examples. It should be on your side. Find how you can actually start the conversation within your own self. But he has emphasized importance of technology. He has emphasized importance of networking. These are things we keep on talking about each and every other time. But I hope that they ring a bell in your mind. Okay? And you just start by doing small, simple things. Okay? I think some of the things, they are practical. Remember I was telling you, Kenya Innovation started in 2021. And it just started as, but now today, every month, we talk about networking with the Black American. If you want to have to market your business, the Black American market, you'll have to pass through. Okay? You want investors or you want whatever, you'll have to talk to Kenya Innovation. Every year, my wife, her first flight was through Tanya Innovations, because before we could not manage to handle the fund. But now these days, every other year, you get invitations. Come to Dubai, do ABCD. Now what am I trying to say? It's a future created. The conversation we have today, this is not, okay, I don't want my TV partner. That is Soul TV. But I'm saying, Tanya Innovations now, you can't compare it with just a local TV. The content, conversation is not just within the country. We are now talking about international conversations. We are here, King Caesar. We have actually Dr. Charity, when you go on your LinkedIn, there's a gentleman called George Abraham. Online, as we are attending right now, he has already made an invite to both of you. So when you go on your LinkedIn, he's George Abraham. In the UK, but those are already part of the people that, we are having conversations with, okay? So thank you very much, Peter. But before I invite the questions, you would also like me to just acknowledge some few persons online, because I don't want to say we have forgotten them. Okay, there was somebody who was answering your question online, Everest Musime, who was saying, I think you were asking a question, and she was saying that place was located on Lake Albert. Then there is Mom Richards, who says, very nice lecture. We are enjoying from diaspora. George Abraham says, great initiative, Uganda. George Abraham networks universities in the UK. So I think because of this, he's also interested in. Then Achidri Christopher, yes, says the sound is clear and incredible discussion. George Abraham says, comments you says, fantastic storytelling by Peter Okwi. Okay. Okay. George Abra, how curiosity and initiative changes individuals? I don't know what that meant. Dr. Smart says, Tanya Innovations, I'm in the pipeline looking for research HIV. Okay, we shall see what happens with that. Dr. Nyabio seduce great King Caesar University flag fly high. Okay. Then Musa Jean, amazing conversation with big intellectual people. Those are just among. Then there is live from Masindi. Okay. So you can see the power of technology. Somebody is seated in Masindi, but he's also able to follow. Yeah, that's among many others. But the whole conversation from what we are discussing here is that they are very small things. We want to look for very big things. And we ignore the small things. But when you start making a conversation, when you start up, things start unfolding themselves in a way that you will not imagine. You understand what I mean? So that's why we are saying that, as he has said, from first year, second year, start the conversation about something you can do. And start with what you can. These are biblical principles. Instead of saying, now I'm waiting until I'm an engineer, and an engineer, I wait until I have 5 PhDs. But my friend, as you start that conversation, there is a way nature consoles people who are doing something. Okay? Those who believe in God, you can say there is a way God is sympathetic to people who are doing something. Okay? So the only way you can stay the same is if in your mind there is nothing you are learning new that you are adding on yourself. But so long as you are trying to get into the conversation, you will certainly get there. Maybe another thing that I just wanted to emphasize as we go into this, the ecosystem of Uganda. We have talked to many students. And like I told you, when you ask them, what is Vision 2040 for Uganda? Trust me, even many intellectuals, people who are experts, they don't know. You understand? And that is already a red flag. Okay? If we say, what is the Vision 2040? Again, you don't know. Okay? If we ask you about some of the sector policies, maybe in health or information technology, or even in the Ministry of ICT, what projects are they supporting? Again, you don't know. Okay? We are talking about the digital economy. We ask you, what is being done about the digital economy in Uganda? Yes, you might be ICT. Yes, you are getting the right skill. But if you don't get that conversation, what invention are you going to make if you are not even able to appreciate the environment in which you are supposed to? Okay? You are not going to manufacture. Those who are in, I think here we are majorly in health, right, doctor? Okay? How many of you have heard of panthenic or pathogenic economy? Have you heard about the pathogenic economy? Have you? That is about, actually Uganda right now, our economy is about $50 billion. What the country is trying to do, that by Vision 2040 is supposed to make a 10-fold economy of $500 billion. And some of the key areas we are talking about the pathogenic economy, trying to see how we can come up with, how it can contribute to the 10-fold. We're trying to talk about the digital economy. So, if you are here and you are researching and you want to be a rich man, and those are not conversation you are able to go, which Peter is trying to say that try to network, then that means you are not doing the right thing, but there is a very high probability that the environment is not supporting what you are doing. Or you are likely to waste a lot of time without knowing some key things that will be able to support you to do what you need to do. Okay? Okay. There's more here. We have Ukenya Faizo. Thank you for the lecture. Now ready, invent. Okay? Then we have Isenge Henry. Thanks for the good ideas. I remain to Isenge Henry. Student ACU BBA 11. to hear a praise. Thank you for the equipping us with the great knowledge. So at this point, let us have questions that are directed to our speaker, and then we shall have closure. Okay. Yes, we have two. Can have those four, and then we test them.
Thank you so much that for the presentation. You told us about telling us the shortcomings you've made. You just highlighted some of them, but found something about it. Thank you so much.
Much, but first one project that risk out of the main one strongest one.
Risk mitigation. Have one, then we have these two, and then we can have him answer those and see whether we still have.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm Asimile Lucia, 1.2 MBCHB. I'm very much humbled to get this chance of talking to you. When I was in my senior 6 vacation, I happened to meet an old man around Kampala. He was selling some plant extracts. That plant was called Stevia reboundania. He was telling us that that medicine can heal diabetes mellitus type 1 and type 2. I was surprised. And as a student who studied biology, I told him it's a lie. He gave me a sample. I got 2 patients of diabetes. I gave them the drug. After a month, they tested, they had their sugar levels were normal. I was surprised, yes. Last month, when we lost the woman MP of Kisoro, I felt hurt. I was like, if this medicine is working, why is it not in the hospitals? So after your talk, what you have talked to us, I feel so much inspired. I feel there is something we can do because people are dying of diabetes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that is a good one. I think let's have in front. We might not have continuously, but I think that's like a compliment. It's something that.
Yeah. My name is Mahau. MBCHB 1.2. We are happy to see you. Like,
okay.
Depending on the words I have been seeing there, I know now our minds are opened. So the only limiting problem I can see as of now, it is like capital. I know. So you people, if we try to see like in our heads, like now the imagination is like you can develop now. Now the limiting thing is capital.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's my issue.
Okay. Now, just by the way, let me let you know that in Tanya Innovations, we don't believe that capital is not even part of the equation. You say it is limiting in your mind. What we are trying to do here is to sail over that. It's because you say that because you have not interfaced. Have you ever heard about investors? Do you know what they do? Have you ever heard what they call a startup? When I was talking about the startup, the gentleman who was left here, what he does, they do venture capital. If you have an idea, but that idea should be proved that it can work. What that gentleman is doing, they give the money. Okay? So, the limitation of what you are saying, the capital, is because the idea you have has not been tested. And that's what we want to let students know. You don't just come up and say, I have put this idea, I want 5 million. You must understand the processes of coming up with the idea, taking it to the market to get tested. The money is there, I can assure you. Okay? The money is there. So part of what Peter, the American whatevers do, is that once you have that idea and you got in touch, and you accept to go through the processes, because sometimes the problem is the students do not want to go through the processes. I think we can work hand in hand with your VC, okay, and be able to open up that channel. So don't talk about lack of money. You should worry whether the idea you have actually makes sense in the market space and whether you are ready to go through. Like I've told you, at Ministry of ICT, we're only having about 29, 30 startups in the whole of Uganda. But how many ICT students are, but how many even know that the Ministry of ICT is giving those fundings? So, change the world, start with such conversations to know that don't close yourself. I think you bring here, then we.
I started one, though it developed when I came to school. So you have told us on grants, but you didn't highlight us on some of the websites where we can easily go to, in case where we can submit our project proposals, and how possible is it for us to pattern, for example, for me I have a registered organization, which I would go back and embark on it. How possible is it to pattern with you and give us support, give me support? Thank you very much.
Okay. Please bring the microphone this side. We might not go on and on. Number one, you can get in touch, but still we'll want to use the university structure, like I've said. If we can have that, so for purpose of order. Because again, you have to learn methods of work. Because we won't want to come and then we have students and something happens and they say, oh, you know, Tanya, get in touch with the VC. We shall establish a proper communication channel. Then we can know maybe we have this number of students. If, for example, you need training through the process and stuff like that, those are things that we'll start with to be able to add value to you so that you can start speaking the same language that, you know, people who want to support those projects will want to engage in. Yes.
First and foremost, I would like to appreciate Madam VC and the other stakeholders for the great work you're doing. We are really so humbled for you. And we pray that may God bless you to keep on bringing these people such that we can see how we can shape the nation.
Thank you.
The best way to predict the future is to create it, or you see far and start now. So we don't have time, we need to start it now.
Okay.
So by names of Sabit Ambrose, BBA student, 2.1. And my question, it is about these organizations, especially I will rely on mine, because if it is say that to get that opportunity, I actually defend it that I'm the first person to take up the challenge. So I started this thing when I was still in primary level, in the secondary level. So meaning that these programs should not go to universities level, but still they should also go, and because they are also students in the high school level who can do that one. Because of the situations that I was in, that I struggled such that I can also create an impact. For instance, when you go to the King Caesar University, its programs, they are all about the society, economy, and policy making in Uganda. They all cover one thing. I have practiced, the thing I was fighting from my village, it is the same thing I found here. And actually here it is beyond than in my village.
Which one is that?
Poverty and vulnerability, especially in the areas. How can we? And this thing, it has affected the economy of Uganda, not only in Uganda, even in other countries. Most especially on these things they have at King Caesar University, which is the society, economy, and policy making in Uganda. For example, when you go, I can use a case in point in Katende zone, Zambia. We have actually visited that place 2 times in this semester. Of recent, we were there. Very many children are suffering, they are not studying. There are very many cases. This great man has talked of a place around here where there are many cases of HIV. How can we fight those things? The best way how we can fight them, it is to mitigate and know that those people. How can we support them? How can we bring them such that they cannot?
Okay.
Yes. My question is, like people like us, how can you help us in order to reach those areas?
Okay.
Then we come up.
Okay. I think lastly, excuse me, the time is, give him.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much, our lecturer, today for the lecture. It was really interesting. We picked a lot. I'm a medical student, and among the limitations that we have as medical students, I would come up with project proposals. Like for example, currently problems we have at hand is microbial resistance, and came up with proposal as students, MBC, so that is phage therapy, which is one of the therapies. And one of the limitations that if you could help us, like you've said, source funds, we would still continue with our project. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Okay. Lastly. Oh, it was on grants. Now, before I call Peter, time is up. We are already 20 minutes past short the time. Oh, okay. Let's have the last one.
Thank you, both our VC and moderators. My question, as you're talking about time, is time. Usually, we as staff, and I can talk over students because we are staff. So my question is about how, because I know you work on many projects as Mr. Presented many achievements. So how can I balance my time of doing work which I have to do with the research, with even other things which I do? Now I ask time, how can we balance? But we can also work on research, because we find sometimes, say I'm going to do work on research, but when the semester is gone without achieving anything, so how can I balance time?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. No, let's have the last one.
Yes, thank you very much. I think this is the kind of conversation what we do at the university. Frequently, my observation among the students now is how to start. How are they going to start? This in innovation, when you have an idea, that's how you are going to start. There are so many companies now, like for him, if you learn very well how they start with generating an idea, then you will come on very well. For example, for medical students, the complaint that you hear from people in the community, listen to that complaint very well. That complaint might be an idea for you. That's how you are going to start. And once you have the good idea, share it the way you have been saying. After that, you will get a very good start for that. Capital may get you on the way very far. You are not going to think of it very now. So I really appreciate these conversations, and I thank you so much for coming with it. This is a very good one. If it is time and again, then we shall have students here going back with so many grants, with so many business they have initiated. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I was saying before Peter comes in, how many of you know the 5 stages of a startup? If you have heard about a startup and the 5 stages of a startup, or when you're beginning a business, we have students of business administration here. We have entrepreneurs here. How many stages of a startup do we have? If you have an idea, what stages does it go in before you commercialize your product? Okay. Now, if you don't know, that is the beginning of the problem. Yes? Because we have so many ideas, and we imagine that once I have an idea, the next thing I want, capital. You understand what I mean? So you die in your own movie. You understand? You have your ideas. There is a system outside here. It has how it operates. Idea and attract somebody's money to come and work. And that money does not usually just come, because you have to convince somebody else that this is an idea and I want to scale it. So what I want you to know, that when you have an idea and you're looking for capital, you are not yet there. Because we have ideation, okay? Then when you have the ideation, you take it into the market to start proving. You walk around and start proving. So some of the things that we can start the conversation, and what Tanya does, is just to provide for you simple information. You go online, find out the stages of a startup. If you have an idea, how do you grow your idea until it's commercialized? As I'm speaking, the students whom we have at Ministry of ICT, some of them, they are just at the stage of trying to prove the idea. They have not even reached the commercial level. And it's because these ideas, they are being worked on until they reach the commercialization level. So the conversation we are talking about is to help you when you have an idea, what next step. Now, like the other lady has talked about the harbors. But besides knowing and giving somebody, I have died there. But yet maybe she's a medical student. Can she start the conversation about how these harbors are used? Now, can she test her idea by getting to other professionals? You know the man who did the COVID drug? Yeah? You know his name? Who? Yeah? Now, can you, for example, mentor such a young lady? Because she has an idea and she's excited about it. But excitement about it is not the same as to when it gets into the field with the people who have already tested those harbors. So if she takes that idea, even me myself, I might not be able to receive it well because that's not my area. I will need to pair her with somebody possibly and say, Professor Guang, how can you be able to help? We have this young lady who is whatevering. And he will look at the idea. From the research, he will have instant answers of what she needs to even stop imagining and the direction she can be able to take. She will shape her idea into a proper. Even some of us, we might just. So what we do is to just make sure that your idea gets a better soil into which it grows. And once that idea goes there and they find that, okay, in this space we have people who are doing ABC. Now she could be there, she's thinking nothing is being done. But I'm telling you, if you found how many people are carrying out research on herbal medicine, you will be surprised. But again, she will come back and say, oh no, I didn't know that people are doing this. So for her to coin that idea into the fully commercialization, it will be after she has gotten it tested by other people in that sector. Tell her how the ecosystem of herbal medicine works in Uganda and which direction she needs to take. My brother here, the poverty we are talking about, the reason why we die in our own movie. Again, everybody somewhere, the reason why you get people who progress and those who don't, it is those who take up a step through the idea. We have very many ideas, but those ideas must be tested, market based. Okay? So, like I've told you, we may not have, that's why we are having this conversation. And like I've told you, these conversations are there online. Okay? If, for example, you want to get up that startup ecosystem. Second lecture we had at Eastbert University was just talking about the startup ecosystem. How does the ecosystem of startups operate? Okay? How do you, for example, access, how do you attract some investors to come and put funds? And I want to let you know that there are many investors all over the globe. Others, they're in $1 billion, waiting for an idea that can, okay? Others are in $1 million. Others are in 30 million. You have heard him saying the projects they do, 30 million. But we have $1 billion projects. But for you to say that I am attracting $20 billion to come to my project, it is real work. So that's now where we are having a challenge, and we are trying to tell our students that you need to grow outside your own domain. Okay? So I think I would allow Peter to answer the questions, and maybe if the VC has any comments, and then possibly we can close. Otherwise, we have short 20, 30, about 30 minutes over. Thank you.
As you asked about the 5 stages, nobody answered. Answer was, that is the problem. I must confess, I'm one of you guys. I also don't know the 5 stages, which is okay. I think I'll come to the question about difficulty. Learning starts when you accept what you do. Because the only way you can go from there. So it's fine if you don't know them. But Evans can't ask you tomorrow and you say you still don't know. That's a problem. When I leave today, I'm going to Google. I will be able to answer him, sure that I know. But let me try and answer your questions. There was a question about difficulty. What kind of difficulty? Limitless. I don't know where to start. But let me so country director, I tell my team I'm about 3. One team, trust my, and I'm transparent. Transparent means you speak things the way they are. So I'll tell you a very real thing that you deal with. You have semesters here, working semesters. As people are introducing themselves, 1.1, 2.1, as charity, what exactly are they talking about? Don't understand. But I'll tell you, in my first year, first semester, very excited, my classmate was doing all the hard work to pass exams. I was looking for paradigm. So I failed my first paper, first year. It thoroughly traumatized me. I thought, my God, what is this? What's going to happen? So I had a retake. Followed me all through. Blaming myself and all that. But I can remember somebody said there's a university of life as well. So when I left the university, I had an upper second degree in engineering, mentally. So it did not stop me. So that taught me one. Just because I failed academically, to remember facts doesn't mean not know how to think. Which is why a lot of my talk today, not about this is that. It's about how do you do. That was the learning for me. Took a difficulty to spun it into something that. The other challenge that I had was speaking in public like this. It was such a difficult thing for me to come up and speak. And yet, I needed to do it. Project, for my work, for all that. And so the way around it was, I like to face my fear. So I said, I'm going to put myself in a place where I actually have to speak. And we can all learn how to do it. So again, those are things that I personally have struggled with, but I have learned how to overcome. Nobody should lie you that they got up and they were able to speak about everything perfectly. Absolutely. All progress. So those are the difficulties. Risk factors, there are so many. There is the biggest one for people like me, someone like me, because I manage budgets, manage relationships, people, and fraud is, even in this university, even in your homes, even in your businesses, fraud is a big one. Because all it takes is somebody to misuse that money, sink your organization. You've heard of UHMG, heard what happened. Go and do some research if you haven't heard about that. So how have we managed it? We have policies, systems, day in, day out. I hire based on integrity. Do reference checks, have methods of doing things. We prevent collusion. So there's a whole host of things that we do to reduce the risk. And then, even after all that, we check, trust, and we verify. So we take the risk down to a point that we can mitigate it and accept it. Now, at the point that we accept it, we get insurance. That in case something wrong happens, we can find a way. Somebody talked about being inspired. Thank you so much. At my afternoon, if I may quote the Quran, and please excuse me if I do it wrongly, something about if you save one, if you saved eternity, you saved the world. So if I live today with one person saying they were inspired to do something, then it was one. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I encourage you, do not take no for one. So many things you want to know. How do I commercialize? I love the idea of linking you with somebody like that. He has gone through the exact same thing. So talk to him and others, and something will come out of that. Capital is a challenge. Who of you knows about something called funding? Anyone? Crowdfunding, crowdsourcing. Just quick show of hands. I won't ask you to say, but who knows about crowdfunding? You know? Anyone else? Just shout it out. I lied. I'll ask you to say. Shout it out. Anything you know about crowdfunding.
Money.
Okay. Excellent. Maybe Evans, you'll also give your perspective. But this internet that we have, did you realize it can do more than WhatsApp and Twitter, TikTok? Did you realize that? Or is internet only for TikTok? I challenge you to go and Google crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and tell me what you find. That's the one thing that you take away. There are people out there who are looking for you to say, I want to do this. They are just sitting. This world has more than 7 billion people. And there are people on the internet, they just want you to say, by the way, I like the sunset, and I am going to take a photograph of the sunset from the roof of King Caesar, and I need $1,000. And you put your idea out there. You'd be surprised. Someone will give you $1, $5, up with $500. At 1.5, 1.2 million, something. So the internet is your source information. Capital may not come neatly tied up in a box and a bow and a check, or Elon Musk. No. But you may get your seed funding from a random person. Look for the information out there. Of course, follow what Tanya is saying, do the process, follow the ecosystem, all those things. But there is a lot out there. just have to ask. Which is why I will come to my friend's point about challenge, the issue, the policy. If you're asking the question to start or answers, it's one thing for you to describe the challenges affecting the elderly, HIV, the orphans. I'm running a project now for orphans and Southwest. USAID is giving us money to do. But they don't give based on it. About facts. Coming back to research. Collect the data, evidence, and I'm not saying go and do a randomized control trial. Lecturers will tell you what that is. Go to that village, talk to, 50 or 20, collect some data. If you come to this ecosystem and say, yes, I am passionate, I have found the problem, and to follow my passion, I went to Daiga, I interviewed 20 people, I found 15 were fishermen, 5 were women, HIV prevalence from the health center was this, I need support to come up with a project. That's different from coming and I feel it in my heart, it's burning, give me money. Two different approaches. One may get you faster, the other one will get you money as well, but it might differ. So again, evidence, data, research. That's the topic of our discussion today. There was something about partnerships, proposals. I think Tanya will propose antimicrobial resistance. Well, and there was a question. Time management. And it's a daily challenge. I'll tell you, even me being here already is trying to manage time at the end of the day. In my right mind, I should not be here. I should be board packs and ready to brief my board about what we've done in the last. But this is important. If I go back home, all I remember, somebody said, I was inspired to do this and I did that. That was. But here is how I manage time. I think, and everyone has their own answer. I think you have to figure out what is really important to you. It's like a jar, have stones. You start with, let's say, sand. If you fill the jar with sand, you can't put any big stones. But if you start with the big stones, you can fit in the sand places. So you need to find your priority. And now I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to trust that you're not going to report me. The priority for me, family, health. Trust. A part of my family is part of King's. My wife works. And you did not know that as well. So that shows you it was completely transparent. So I tell you that we both prioritize family. Family, child, absolutely. That's for us. Second is health. I do my best to try, and if I cannot go to the gym, maybe I will walk or I will exercise, because I plan to be doing this work for as long as I can. I want to be interrupted. I want to keep as healthy as I can for as long as I can to impact as many people as I can. So health and family. So I try my best not to affect those. Those are mine. You all have your priorities, whatever they are. Fix them, everything. Last thing I'll leave you with, go find a book. I read a lot. So by now, find a book called 4,000 Days out there. All about a concept of 4,000 days. And here is the summary. Generally, based on research, they say you have a certain number. Somebody calculated that 4,000 days. So if you think about it, how many days have you been alive? Most of you are probably in your mid-20s. I know some of us are taking the average a bit higher. Everyone else? Calculate how many days have you? 4,000 days you have. Going to make them count. Is it going to be important that went to that club, or that you quarreled with this person, or that you came up with a new innovation, or you produced some data? You have to find a way to make it. Not infinite. have a limited time. Read that book. I think you'll find it quite interesting. I think the last one I'll talk about is that there is no way to start. Just have to do something, right? And you will say you don't know what to do, you don't know how to start. I gave you some tips, some things you can do. Skill up. I know life is about luck, but imagine when that lightning bolt strikes you, you're ready. The one who can explain a finance, balance sheet, who can explain customer service, understand technology, can understand Evan's questions about the ecosystem. Still say you are lucky.
Okay, I think we can add him another round of applause. Also, besides our online, we engage our traditional media. So I want to acknowledge Salt TV. Mr. Ward, thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge Baba TV. I'm a Msoga, so I usually work with them for them to see what I do. Part of accountability home, but that's also Baba TV. Mr. Senyonga, we thank you. We may not be able to have all the discussions today and finish, but I think on behalf of Tanya Innovations, I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank DC for her open door policy, because I think she has made this happen very fast. Okay? And I'm happy that you have turned out in very big numbers. So you can clap for yourself. I also want to thank the team that has been involved in coordinating. Who is Father Lumala? Oh, thank you very much. You want to thank him? He has also been doing it. And then I think your University Secretary, Pape Bagonza. Yeah, she's also been very instrumental in the coordination. So this conversation, we don't stop it here. Like I've told you, those who want to follow the conversations we are having, go online. When you go to Tanya, if you want, get reminders to subscribe on that channel. So what happens is that when you subscribe, whenever we have an event, we'll get reminders. I've told you there are many things that we do, but besides those talk shows, we have monthly talk shows on what we call the Global Talk Show. And on the Global Talk Shows, some of the questions you have been asking, we get guests. In fact, the reason why we have started this is because people have been complaining. Tanya is always international, but it's not local. Yeah, because I've been hosting quite a number of those international people who are looking for businesses. People have been talking how they invest in Africa, what they're interested in. That is what we do on a monthly basis. Okay? We have even had our former head of state, His Excellency Jonathan Goodluck, on that platform. Okay? So that's how big the platform is. So we host. So in case you want to pick ideas, how the world is thinking outside there, you can always be on that platform. But like I've said, the rest of the questions, I think VC will find a better way. Find somebody who can coordinate in case you have these conversations you are having. Like I've told you, if, for example, you have projects that you want to get venture capital partners, then you can try to get in touch, and I think Peter and the organization, they will be able to guide. Okay? If you have any other, there's somebody who has asked online, I think it was Mom Richard, she says she's, I think she's into medicine space. She wanted to know how we can coordinate. If you went online, just Tanya Innovations, we have our website. It has all the different things that we do. So you can always get in touch. Our office is in Buziga, just behind a Buziga Country Resort. Okay? But we are digital. So there is no reason. All you need is, in case you want any information, we're always there because we are trying to go digital in all things. We want to make sure we utilize our local space before you even go anywhere. Because from the conversation we have had, it appears that besides maybe just studying and what you are doing, you are busy there within yourself. yeah, business ideas, not until that idea has gotten out of you, then it starts creating impact. I'm a believer, and I know that when Jesus was going out to do miracles, one of the things people are expecting that this Son of God knows everything about me, all he should come is just to give me a miracle. But who knows the version that Jesus will do before he will bless? Those who are faith. But what was always his first question? Whether they want to be. So in other words, he was not a man who would impose. I think the whole principle, while we look at it differently, by the way, and something that I've come to learn when I do the work I do, is that when you have an idea, and that idea is inside you, that idea is as good as dead. But when you have an idea and you start bringing it out, that's why I told you that nature has a way, supports you, because that idea keeps on growing. And in 2 years, you'll be talking about a different conversation. With those comments, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite our dear VC to give closing remarks, and then we can go. I don't know whether the media team, whether they will want to have some shots of things, but we shall find out whether it's okay from the VC. Okay. And let them know whether that's okay, because they wanted to get some interview shots for the news.
They've been worth it. All inspired. Go out, look for problems, find solutions. The next big task. I hope that we'll carry on this conversation. Join me, KCU community. Thank Mr. Peter Okwi. Let us also thank Evans, Maganda. Thank you to our students and the team of support. Thank you all. Very engaging audience. I hope you took as much as I have, and I definitely have good ideas that we are going to keep this conversation going. I think it's very important that you also go back. Please go and watch the series that was done at ISBAT, so that we can keep our knowledge and keep the loop. Because all these, if you picked it up from what Mr. Maganda said, it is a loop. So they're building up on something. So it is important that you keep that knowledge chain going. And that way we shall build ourselves into a wholesome individual and be innovators. Thank you very much. I wish you a good evening. I think